There was a man named Khalid who sat in the quiet darkness of his study at 3 in the morning, unable to sleep, staring at a photograph on his desk. The picture showed a woman in her late 30s, wearing a simple hijab, smiling softly at the camera while holding a Quran. His wife, Nadia. She was asleep in their bedroom down the hall, as she had been every night for the past 18 years of their marriage. Khalid was 45 years old now, and something had shifted in him over the past few months, something he couldn't quite name until tonight. As he sat in the darkness looking at her photograph, the realization crashed over him like a wave, bringing tears to his eyes for the first time in years. He finally understood what he had been looking at all these years without truly seeing. But to understand Khalid's midnight revelation, we must go back to the beginning of their story, to when he was a 27-year-old man who thought he knew exactly what he wanted from life and from marriage. Khalid had been a successful investment banker, earning more money than most people his age, living in a luxury apartment in the city's most expensive district, driving a sports car and enjoying a lifestyle that many envied. He was handsome, confident, and accustomed to getting what he wanted. When his mother suggested it was time to marry, he had a very specific list of requirements for his future wife. She had to be extraordinarily beautiful, he told the matchmakers. She had to be sophisticated and educated, able to hold conversations at the high society events he attended. She had to dress fashionably and elegantly, someone who would enhance his image and status. She had to come from a wealthy, prominent family. And yes, she should be religious, but not too religious, not in a way that would interfere with the lifestyle he enjoyed. The matchmakers brought him several options, all stunning women from excellent families. But none of them quite met his exacting standards. Either they were too conservative for his taste, or not educated enough, or lacked the sophistication he demanded. Khalid rejected them all, convinced that he deserved better, that his perfect match was still out there somewhere. His mother grew frustrated with his pickiness, but it was his father who finally intervened. One evening, his father sat him down and spoke with unusual seriousness. "Khalid, I've been watching you reject good women for foolish reasons. I think it's time I tell you about someone. Your mother's friend has a daughter named Nadia. She's 32 years old, works as a Quran teacher, comes from a simple family. She's not the glamorous type you've been demanding, but she has something far more valuable: excellent character and deep faith. I'm asking you as your father to at least meet her." Khalid almost refused. A 32-year-old Quran teacher from a simple family, this was exactly what he didn't want. But something in his father's tone made him reluctantly agree to one meeting, just to appease his parents. When he met Nadia, his first reaction was disappointment. She was pleasant-looking, but not the stunning beauty he had imagined. She dressed modestly in a simple hijab and long dress, nothing like the fashionable women he usually noticed. She was quiet and soft-spoken, without the polished sophistication he had demanded. When they talked, she spoke about her work teaching children Quran, about her love for Islamic studies, about her volunteer work at an orphanage. Khalid found the conversation boring. This woman represented everything he had been trying to avoid: simplicity, religiosity, a lifestyle that seemed dull compared to the excitement he craved. But his parents loved her immediately, and they put intense pressure on him to accept this match. "She's perfect," his mother insisted. "She has excellent character, comes from a good family, and most importantly, she has a strong relationship with God. What more could you want?" "She's not my type," Khalid protested. "We have nothing in common. I can't imagine her at my work events or dinner parties. She's too simple, too plain, too religious." But his parents were relentless, and eventually, worn down by their pressure and afraid of disappointing them, Khalid agreed to the marriage. He told himself it didn't really matter. He would keep living his life the way he wanted, and his wife could stay home and do her religious activities. That he would exist in parallel, fulfilling their marital obligations but not really connecting on a deeper level. The first years of marriage unfolded exactly as Khalid had expected. Nadia was a dutiful wife who kept their home, prepared his meals, and never complained about his long work hours or his frequent socializing. But Khalid kept her at an emotional distance. He rarely asked about her day, showed little interest in her Quran teaching work, and often made her feel that her interests were less important than his career. When she would suggest they attend Islamic lectures together or volunteer at community service projects, he would make excuses about being too busy. When she would try to talk to him about faith or spiritual matters, he would change the subject to something he found more interesting. When she would dress simply for family gatherings, he would sometimes make comments suggesting she should dress more fashionably, more impressively. Nadia absorbed all of this quietly, never arguing, never demanding more than he was willing to give. She continued teaching Quran to children, volunteering at the orphanage, maintaining her 5 daily prayers and her night prayers, reading and studying Islamic texts, living her life with a quiet dignity and faith that Khalid barely noticed. They had 3 children over the years, 2 daughters and a son. Khalid loved his children and provided well for them financially, but it was Nadia who truly raised them. She woke with them at night when they were sick, helped them with homework, taught them to pray and read Quran, instilled in them values of kindness and compassion. She did all this without seeking recognition or praise, simply because it was right. Khalid was too busy climbing the corporate ladder to notice any of this. He was focused on promotions, on bigger deals, on accumulating more wealth and status. He provided financially for his family, which he believed fulfilled his responsibility as a husband and father. But he was emotionally absent, present in body but distant in spirit. The turning point came when Khalid was 44 years old. His company was involved in a massive financial scandal, nothing Khalid had personally done, but the entire firm was implicated. Overnight, his prestigious job vanished. His reputation in the industry was destroyed. The lifestyle he had built came crashing down around him. Worse, during the stress of this crisis, Khalid suffered a heart attack. Not severe enough to kill him, but serious enough to land him in the hospital for weeks and leave him facing months of recovery. At 44, he found himself jobless, recovering from a heart attack, watching everything he had built his identity around crumble to dust. It was during this crisis that Khalid finally began to see what had been in front of him all along. While his so-called friends from work disappeared too, busy or too embarrassed to associate with his scandal, Nadia never left his side. She sat beside his hospital bed for hours, reading Quran in her soft voice, praying over him, holding his hand. She rearranged her entire teaching schedule to be available for his doctor appointments and physical therapy sessions. When the medical bills piled up and their savings dwindled, Nadia never once complained. She simply adjusted their household budget, finding ways to make do with less, never making Khalid feel like a failure for losing their comfortable lifestyle. When he would lie awake at night overwhelmed with anxiety about the future, she would comfort him with words from the Quran about God's plan and the wisdom in every trial. When he felt worthless and defeated, she would remind him that his value wasn't in his job or his status, but in his character and his faith. And slowly, during those months of forced stillness and recovery, Khalid began to really look at his wife for the first time in 18 years of marriage. Not with the dismissive glance of someone who had already decided she wasn't interesting enough, but with the attention of someone whose eyes were finally opening. He noticed how she woke before dawn every single morning for Fajr prayer, never missing it, even when she was exhausted from caring for him and managing the household alone. He noticed how she spoke to their children with endless patience, teaching them with kindness even when they were difficult. He noticed how she continued volunteering at the orphanage even during the crisis, saying the children needed consistency. He noticed that she never gossiped about neighbors, never spoke badly about anyone, always found something good to say, even about people who had wronged her. He noticed that she was content with very little, that when their financial situation changed drastically, she adapted without complaint or resentment. He noticed that she treated him with the same respect and care whether he was a successful banker or a recovering heart attack patient with no job. Her character hadn't changed with his circumstances because her character had never been based on what he could provide but on who she was at her core. But the realization didn't fully crystallize until tonight, 6 months after his heart attack, when Khalid was sitting in his study at 3 in the morning, unable to sleep, thinking about his life. He had picked up one of the Islamic books Nadia always kept on her bedside table, curious about what she found so compelling in these texts. She read every night. As he read, he came across a hadith about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, describing the best of women as those who please you when you look at them, obey you when you command them, and protect your honor and wealth in your absence. Khalid read this hadith again and again, and suddenly everything clicked into place. He rushed to his desk and pulled out the photograph of Nadia, really looking at it, and the tears began to flow. She pleased him when he looked at her, not because of superficial beauty that would fade with age, but because her face reflected inner peace and genuine goodness. She had never disobeyed him in 18 years, not because she was weak, but because she chose respect and harmony, even when he didn't deserve it. And she had protected his honor and wealth in his absence, never gossiping about their marital problems, never wasting money on frivolous things, raising their children with values and faith, even when he was too busy to help. At 45 years old, looking at his wife's photograph at 3 in the morning, Khalid finally realized what he had been too blind to see for 18 years. God had given him exactly what he needed, not what he wanted. He had asked for beauty and sophistication, but God had given him character and faith. He had wanted a trophy wife to enhance his status, but God had given him a life partner who would carry him through crisis. The simple, boring, too religious woman he had reluctantly married was actually the treasure he had been blessed with, and he had spent nearly 2 decades taking her for granted. Khalid sat in his study crying, overwhelmed by gratitude and regret mixed together. Gratitude that God had blessed him with Nadia, despite his shallow priorities. Regret that he had wasted so many years not appreciating her, not seeing her worth, not being the husband she deserved. As dawn broke and the call to Fajr prayer echoed from the nearby mosque, Khalid heard Nadia's gentle footsteps as she woke to pray, as she did every morning. He went to their bedroom and found her preparing for prayer. "Nadia," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "can we pray together this morning?" She looked at him in surprise. In 18 years of marriage, he had rarely joined her for voluntary prayers. "Of course," she said softly, smiling with genuine warmth. They stood side by side for Fajr prayer, and for the first time Khalid prayed with full presence, with complete gratitude for the blessing standing beside him. After the prayer, he took her hands in his. "I need to tell you something," he began, tears flowing freely now. "I've been a terrible husband. For 18 years I've looked at you and seen only what I thought you weren't. I wished you were more beautiful, more sophisticated, more exciting. I made you feel like you weren't enough because you didn't match my foolish fantasies about what a wife should be." Nadia started to speak, but he gently continued. "But now, at 45 years old, after everything we've been through these past months, I finally see you clearly. You are everything the Prophet, peace be upon him, described as valuable in a spouse. You have been patient with me when I didn't deserve patience. You have been faithful and good when I was distant and neglectful. You have raised our children with beautiful values while I was too busy chasing wealth and status. You have been the foundation of our family while I thought I was." He looked directly into her eyes. "I realize now that you are my special person. You always were. God blessed me beyond what I deserved, and I was too foolish to recognize it. I'm so sorry for wasting so many years being blind. I don't know how many more years God will give us together, but I want to spend whatever time remains showing you the appreciation and love you should have received all along." Nadia cried then, not tears of sadness but of relief and joy. "I always knew you would see it eventually," she said softly. "I prayed for this moment every single night for 18 years. I asked God to open your eyes to help you see that true value isn't in appearance or status but in faith and character. Thank you for finally understanding." From that morning forward, their marriage transformed completely. Khalid began attending Islamic classes with Nadia, discovering a whole world of meaning and purpose he had ignored. He started volunteering at the orphanage with her, finding fulfillment in service that his corporate career had never provided. He asked her to teach him what she taught her Quran students, humbling himself to learn from the woman he had once dismissed as too simple. He started coming to her for advice on major decisions, valuing her wisdom and insight that he had previously ignored. He thanked her daily for things he had taken for granted for years: the meals she prepared, the home she maintained, the children she raised, the prayers she made for him. Most importantly, he began to see her beauty, not the superficial beauty he had once demanded, but the deep, lasting beauty of a soul that reflects God's attributes of mercy, patience, and compassion. Their children noticed the dramatic change in their father. One evening, their eldest daughter asked, "Baba, what happened to you? You're like a different person." Khalid smiled and put his arm around Nadia. "I finally grew up. I finally learned to see what's real and valuable. Your mother has been the blessing of my life for 18 years, but I was too foolish to appreciate her. Don't make my mistake. When God blesses you with someone good, recognize it immediately. Don't wait until you're 45 years old to finally understand what you had all along." Years later, when their children were grown and beginning to think about marriage, Khalid would tell them his story as a warning and a lesson. "I looked at your mother for 18 years without really seeing her," he would say. "I saw only what I thought she lacked, compared to my shallow expectations. But at 45, when my world fell apart and I had nothing left but her steady faith and love, I finally realized the truth. She was never the problem, my blindness was. She was never lacking, my priorities were." He would continue, "But the special person in your life might not look like what you think you want. They might be simpler, quieter, more religious, less exciting than your fantasies. But if they have good character and strong faith, if they treat you with kindness and respect, if they remain steady when everything else falls apart, then you have been blessed beyond measure. Don't wait until crisis or old age to finally see it. Look now, at whatever age you are, and recognize the treasure God has given you." This is the message that transforms lives and marriages at some age, whether it's 25 or 45 or 75. We finally look at our special person and realize what we've been too blind to see. We realize they've been loving us faithfully all along. We realize their simple goodness is worth more than all the excitement we thought we wanted. We realize that God answered our prayers by giving us what we needed rather than what we asked for. But the tragedy is that many people realize this too late, after years of neglect and taking for granted. The blessing is realizing it now, today, at whatever age you are, and choosing to spend whatever time remains showing genuine appreciation, returning the love that's been given so freely and thanking God for blessings you finally have eyes to see. Your special person looks at you at every age, loving you steadily. The question is, at what age will you finally look back and truly see them?